Free.
My name is Andrew your speaker, and I'm glad that you joined me yet again for another interesting topic. Tonight, we are discussing the untapped opportunities, the youth of Africa. So we want to learn from our elders. How can we utilize our useful years on this planet? And what are those untapped opportunities that you may not be seeing, but some other people who have gone through those experiences are seeing them? Let me begin with the Honorable Alex, since he's a debater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm happy that I got time to come here. When you go to a university, then that means you've got an open, it's a universal account for knowledge. So you can discover anything you want in this world. Because you have been given that chance, you can now open anything. But you see, what kills many of us is that you think if you have studied that small course with your degree, then you believe that you must get a job in line of what you studied, and everything is narrowed to that. You forget that your brain is inelastic and it can do wonders. So I left my brain, I gave it free space to think, to be solution driven. And whatever I was doing, I wanted to solve. But the youth of today, they are full of lamentations. You know, this youthful stage is robust. It is a period where you can take risks. It is a period where you don't have a lot of commitments, family obligations. So you have got that time where you can experiment and really make things happen. You discover. Nobody will punish you for trying to think big. So I said I have to think big. But at the same time, I would juxtapose myself and they say a youth of China. What is preoccupying a youth of China, of my age? What is preoccupying an Indian youth, an American youth, a European youth? How can we compare? How can I be competitive such that they don't leave me and I catch up with them? So the moment you have that inferiority complex in your brain, you become a very useless person. The moment you think that knowledge, innovations, technology is an affair of Europeans and Chinese, then you are really a big problem. So that mentality is something I opened war against. And today as I speak, I have produced very high quality and effective and rich farmers. The farmers that they found.
The Pan-African Pyramid debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusare.
They couldn't write, they couldn't read, but I designed the modules. I taught them how to collect data, how to analyze, how to act, and the information or the data that they feel needs to go elsewhere for intervention. Then they could do that and get a solution. When I did that, because I first refused to go to any workshop, I spent 8 full years refusing to go for any workshop anywhere. But I spent my 8 years sleeping in the mountains in the farmers, with the farmers in Wenzori. I was with the farmers in Bundubujo. I was with the farmers in Kabarole. I was in Kitagwenda. I was in Kamwenge, in Chegewa. I would stay with them in their homes. And we sit and see what we can do to improve their livelihood. So after writing about what I think can work, that is when the world started recognizing me. And I started challenging all these IMF World Bank designs that have kept our people in perpetual poverty. And And I showed this bottom-up approach and the designs which I had made, and they started countering, and they said those structures, the Bretton Woods structures, are the big mess for African development. Many foreigners who come in Africa, they find collaborators who have to work with them for the benefit of their small families at the expense of the majority. So the whole relationship is for you to go into deals that will make you enjoy with your family. That's a pity. The foreigner benefits enormously. The welfare is taken away, and your people remain impoverished. Finally, do you know why the Africans are very spiritual? Have you ever asked yourself why there is a lot of business, the spiritual business? Don't you think those pastors have seen a huge potential? That's the business. Because you are desperate. You can't find solutions. You can't find answers. You can't explain why you are unemployed. You cannot explain why you have even failed to get a man to marry you. You cannot explain. And the only thing is you've got to resort to church and pray and see a miracle happen. But when you go to societies that fix, the societies that invest in research, they have got answers. I only know one thing that I need is wisdom. Simple. I only need wisdom from God. I don't need anything. So it is that drives me, that gets me passionate, and I become innovative and look for solutions.
My name is Onoria Ambrose. I am a farmer. I am the resident district commissioner in the government of Uganda and serving the people in Gorge district. You will have to look at yourself. If there's a threat that you will die today or tomorrow, it is because of the behavior that you have exhibited. If there is any threat on your life, if you know what you want, if you have a vision and a mission, then try to put yourself at a level that you discipline yourself and make sure that you satisfy others. Now, I want to give an example. When I was in marketing, we had a salesman, a driver, and a turnman. Our turnmen were getting 250,000. But you know, to my shock, I discovered that one of the turnmen was richer than the salesman, who was getting 550,000. So how did it come about? This is the turnman who used to roast granuts in his home, pack them, and as they go for route sales, he distributes on the same route that they would go to take salt. When they go the next week, he collects his money. So these other two were relying on what? On their salary. So you need to switch on your brain. You don't need to sleep. He made friendship. As the salesman was making friendship for selling salt, this other turnman made friendship for distributing packed granuts. Things sometimes look difficult, but so long as you allow your brain to operate. I grew up teaching people. I learned because I learned to work with the youth. I learned to show them the ways of how to make money. But the issues that we had Like for example now, as a resident district commissioner, I've worked in so many districts. I'm being told that university graduates buy jobs from 3 million, 5 million, up to 10 million. Now, you've had a testimony of the director of research. For 10 million shillings, you need to buy a job. You need to buy a job for 10 million? No! That is good enough capital. During the time when we were growing up, I remember there's somebody who grew up from a family which was much poorer than ours. But he ended up in China. When we were growing up, I used to have during our time, we didn't have the jogging like today. But we also used to have people who used to jog every day. But for me, I would never jog. No. I would go and heap potatoes. Because the energy you use for jogging, you can put it in the garden.
That's your jogging.
Yes. Why do you go and jog? Why do you just run aimlessly when you are not going to be paid for it? And why don't you go and eat potatoes and earn money? Those are some of the things we do. This poor, very, very poor person who came from a very poor background, I want to tell you, he heaped potatoes all the way to China.
Today is Friday. Africans are good at uniting when they are taking alcohol. If you want to see a generous African, now that it's a weekend, go to bars. I've told you I'm a researcher. But if you want to have more enemies, go with them in the business. So you have a population, the elite, that is good at harmonizing when you are drinking, but very dangerous to work with when you are in business. That's the Africa we are facing. 2, Africans have papers but no skills. Africans have academic. Actually, I'm an HR by profession. If you advertise a job today, you'll be shocked, even this audience, people with PhDs, but no knowledge and skill. So we have so many educated young Africans there, but with no skill. Thirdly, I want just to make, thirdly, the other day we are talking about the African Liberation Day. Africa, what it needs right now is what we call mental liberation. An educated young person, energetic as he is, he prefers going to clean toilets in Europe and leave his garden in Kabarole, which is very fertile.
When you have a university degree, go and mobilize your people. Is there a nursery school in your village? Is there a betting shop, even if betting is bad? Is there an association of the produce they grow? Can you now go to the village and mobilize an association of fruit growers, and then you come to Mzee Dauda and say, I have organized those people in the village, and we can now balkanize our produce. So, when you are educated, be able to live anywhere, even in politics. If an MP goes to the village where you have mobilized the business, instead of buying a vote at 500 shillings or 5,000, at least you will buy it at 50. Or in like in Omoro yesterday, 20. Because you have mobilized them. But vote buying is not bad. But when let the MP come to your village, and when he's talking, he will find that there is a graduate. Have you heard? There is a graduate who has mobilized the people. They don't want 500, they want 20,000. Have you seen?